Fiona today, and we're going to be filming a video about applying for Epik, as I know I've got a few questions about the application process and things you need. So hopefully this video today will address some of those questions that you guys have had.
So there's 5 things you have to take in consideration when you're applying for Epik, and the first thing we're going to talk about is time.
Yeah. So the thing with Epik is that it's very time specific. So it's first come first served basically. So if you apply early, then you have a better chance of getting a place in the Epik program. And also in terms of your documentation, which we will go into later on, you need to apply early as well.
And also in case anything happens, like if you need your background check to be redone again, then you also need that extra time, at least like a month or 2 to actually get that again.
Right. So first we're going to start off by talking about the documents and the things you actually need first to apply for the Epik program. So excuse a second, we're just going to pull up our notes. Okay, well obviously the first thing you need when you apply is the application. So Epik will first release the application maybe a week or 2 before they start accepting them. And then so you fill that out, and then when they sort of tell you the day when they accept it in, you hand it in, and then you wait. They'll get back to you, and then they'll give you your interview day.
And this interview is done through Skype, so they'll give you a set time when you are free. This could be 3 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 12 p.m., whatever day.
It's basically based on commute time, so what time is best for them during their office hours, so it's like 9 till 5 or 6 or something like that. So whatever time is best for them is when your interview will be. So if you have like a really different, a vastly different time, what's the word? Time frame or time difference, then you might be having a really 3 in the morning interview. So you have to be really prepared for that.
You just see the upper top dressed up, the bottom you wear pajamas. It's all on Skype video.
That's right.
The interview is probably like 15 minutes.
No, it's longer than that.
Mine was like 15 minutes.
Okay, the interview times vary. So hers is 15, mine is more like 40 minutes. So it doesn't mean anything good or bad if your interview is long or short. I think it just depends on whoever's interviewing you, if they want to talk to you a bit longer.
Also, you can look up the interview questions online.
Yeah, but it's technically not allowed.
It's not allowed.
You can look them
pretend
up
you didn't hear that, but you can do that.
There's somewhere, on the old Google. So that's the application. You need to hand that in, get your interview day, and then once you find out, depending on the avenue in which you applied through, which we'll talk about that later on as well, you'll hear back within a certain time frame about whether you got in or not, and then from there you're going to have to send in all of your documents to Epik.
So once you get accepted, you hear the great news, congratulations, you're accepted to Epik. The first thing you have to do is apply for your CBC, or in the UK they call CRC, the criminal record check or criminal background check. And this is done by the FBI in the United States.
And in the UK it's done by Disclosure Scotland. So first I'm going to talk about the different processes that you need to go through to apply for them. So for me, I needed the criminal background check. So I applied for that. You can apply for that online, or I think you can call them up or something, but I will leave all the links and stuff below so you guys can find that. But you apply to them, you fill that in, and you send that off. And then for you?
And for me, first you need to get fingerprints, and you get these fingerprint cards and your fingerprints done at the police station, and make sure they get your fingerprints evenly and well, because if they're too smudged, the FBI will send them back to you and say you have to redo it, and you have to pay for the whole fingerprint process again, which is like $16. And
how much is it for your background check?
Oh, and then once you get the fingerprints done, you have to send them to the FBI. If you look at or there'll be a link at the below. I don't know what there'll be a link below. What you have to do is just send it to your address that's given in the website, and it'll take about, for me it took about like a month. It took about a month. It was like $18 as well. And they only accept checks or money checks, so you have to get it addressed to the Department of Treasury.
I think for me the criminal background check was £20, but again I will check anything that we're not too sure about. We'll leave the actual accurate information.
It's been a long time.
A very long. It's been a year.
6 months.
It's been a year since you actually applied. So
it's 6 months here in Korea.
Yeah. So it's a bit crusty in our minds.
Oh my god, it's been a year.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so you need a criminal background check. You also need apostle, like stuff as well. So you also need a copy of your bachelor's degree, and you have to get that apostle. I don't know what I think that means. Getting it like
it's
verified.
It's to make sure that it's authentic.
Yeah.
It's the government saying yes, this is a true degree, a real background check, etc., etc.
Right. So for me, when you have your criminal background check, that also needs to be apostled later on. And the trick to that is you have to have it. What's the word? To be apostled, it needs to be signed like it's this and authentic. So when you get your criminal background check done, when you send it off in the post, make sure you send off a little note for Disclosure Scotland saying that this document is going to be apostled, so therefore it will be signed by whoever's in charge in Disclosure Scotland. I don't know who, but you can sign, or if you're like me, I did do that. You can pull them up as well. On your application form, there'll be a serial number. Make sure you write that down, because then when you pull them up, you can just read off the serial number and they can find your application. So that is the degree, and the criminal background check needs to be apostled. Your degree, you need to go to a solicitor and they can what is the word? It's not apostle, but they
notarize.
Yeah, it needs to be. I think it's a different word for UK, but something like notarize. That they need to do that for that. They'll stamp it and they'll sign it, and then only then can you send that off to be apostled as well. And if you go to solicitor, that shouldn't cost you any more than £10. So they're charging you more than £10, you're being ripped off, guys. Okay. So that's that. And is there anything else for
the US could get a little tricky, because the only bad thing I guess about the US is that every state has its own government laws. So I'm from New York. In New York, I know on the Epik site it says you can go to the Secretary of State and try to get it signed, but you can't do that in New York. You have to go to the city clerk and get that signature from them to get that notarized. Because I did it through UPS and that wasn't allowed. So you need to get it notarized by the city hall clerk, and then send it off to the Department of State in Washington.
Okay, so I think we've covered the background check and all of that stuff. And what's the one that takes a long time? The background check?
It's the background check.
The background check in the US might take how long?
About a month.
A month. So you need to be on that. So you kind of need to apply for that before you even apply for Epik, maybe like a couple of weeks. But you have to be careful with like the background checks, because they need to be valid from 6 months when you go to Korea. So say you're leaving for Korea in August, your check must be valid within that period. That makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but does that make sense? I think
right.
So.
Basically, it becomes invalid after 6 months.
Yeah, after 6 months. So basically, it needs to be valid when you arrive in Korea. Yeah. Okay.
Although I do have to give a tip. If you are in the US, it's better to maybe send it to a like an independent mailing company where you mail your CBC, your background check, to this person, and this person can do a walk-in. Because if you do by walk-in, it takes like 5 minutes. So if you're in a time crunch, it's better to use like a personal mailing company that will personally go to the authentications office in DC, 5 minutes, get your apostilled CBC, and then send it back to you via express. So you get it like in a matter of days.
So going back to your application, the application is about 10, 11, 12 pages long, and you also need to put in a lesson plan and an actual proper copy of your lesson, like the slides you use and stuff like that. And you're saying that depending on what level you want,
depending what level you want. So let's say you want high school, middle school, or elementary. Make sure your lesson plan is geared towards that audience. So if you didn't need to do a lesson about restaurants, they might put you in an elementary or middle school. But if your lesson's more like grammar and more harder stuff, they'll most likely put you in high school. For any more information, just go look in the Epik requirement documents and you'll figure out like what you need.
Although we're not sure it's up to date.
That's true, yeah.
Okay. Now you also need your original university transcripts. So
sealed.
Do not open them. Do not open them.
Did you open them?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. It's just so demanding.
No, but then some people like
curious.
Yeah. Or like when some people were getting this sent off by UPS or whatever, they tried to open their transcript. So don't open those as well.
They're sealed for a reason.
Yeah, because they don't want you to tamper with them. So they want your like actual grades and proof of what you've done. So you need your application form, your 2 apostilled documents, which are the background check and your degree copy. You need your sealed transcripts, so don't open those. And you also need, and it needs to be like the transcripts that have each module. I don't know what the technical name for that is, but it's like,
in America, we call it course.
And you need 2 letters of recommendation, so they can be from your previous employer or your university. But I believe if you do university, it has to be from 2 different departments. Like it can't be from like, I'm sorry, 2 different departments. If you go to the university one. I'm not sure, but if it's from like, I'm pretty sure like if you use the university letter of recommendation, you can't use like the same department.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I'm not sure, but I think so. I think I heard that or remember reading it on the application.
Oh, because I use one employer and one academic, so
that's the 2.
It sounds right. Yeah, you can't use the same department. That doesn't make sense because if you're one major, isn't that all under the same department? It just can't be from the same
like, so if you did like business, it can't be from like economics department. I don't know economics. I have no clue. If you do a TEFL, you have to hand in the copy of your TEFL certificate. And now with Epik, you have to do not only the 120-hour online course, you have to do 20-hour in-class course as well. So when we applied, the in-class course was optional. I still personally did it just to boost my application, but now it's required that you have to do in-class. So when you pass your interview, you have to hand in your documents. You also have to hand in the copies of the TEFL certificate as well.
What's in-class?
Huh? What's in-class? Like online and then in actual
oh, okay. Because you said now they require an in-class whatever.
Yeah, an actual in-class.
Really? No.
They do.
Now they do?
20 hours in class. You have to go to a course.
Really? Before, but in ours they didn't, right?
No, it was optional. So when you're handing in your documents to Epik, you also have to hand in 2 sets. So one has to have all the originals and one has to have copies of the originals, because
except for your transcripts.
Oh yeah. You have to hand in 2 sets of transcripts.
2 sets of transcripts, but no copies for transcripts.
Oh, 2 sets. Really?
Yeah, I put in 2 of mine.
Okay.
Because my recruiters asked for 2, so.
Okay. So when you hand in, you have to hand in 2 sets. And then, so anything like the apostille documentation, you need to photocopy the actual, like your criminal record check. You have to photocopy the criminal record check and also the apostille. Photocopy that as well, and put them both in 2 different envelopes, and then
in one big
envelope to send off with like whoever you use. Like I use UPS, I think.
Don't use your regular post.
Don't use Royal Mail, please.
Yeah, Royal Mail. Don't use the USPS. They will lose it. There are cases where they lose it, even though you have a tracking number. And also, when you make a copy of your apostille anything, make sure you do it softly, because if that staple comes off, it's invalid. You have to do the whole thing all over again.
All over again. You don't want that, because that's just costly. So.
Yeah. Time consuming. So you hand in your documents now. Now what to expect?
Right, okay, so after you hand in your documents, your coordinator, or if you go through a recruiter, they'll let you know if Epik have your documents, and then they will forward your documents on to whichever Office of Education in Korea. So, and also on the application you get to choose, I don't know how the application is now, this is valid for when we applied, but you've got to choose what city you wanted, or what metropolitan or provincial place you wanted. So they'll probably pass it on to that area first, your documents, and then if you don't get into that place, they'll go to the next place like that. So you also find out maybe a month later.
Depends. Some people find 2 weeks after. Actually, some people find 1 month after. Some people find it till near deadline.
Like a week before you fly out to Korea.
Yeah.
They find out where you've been placed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
For me, I think I sent mine pretty early. I was one of the first to hand it in, but I didn't hear back until the end of December. So 2 months. It was 2 months for me.
And I think that also has something to do with how the avenues we applied through. So I personally applied directly to Epik, which meant that I handed in my, I was given a coordinator from Epik who I was able to liaise with. So that was the person I did my interview with, and it was really helpful because she gave me pointers and stuff and told me what I needed to do. And I liked going directly to Epik because you hear back quicker. So for instance, like I have actually applied through Epik twice. I applied the first time maybe a month and a half ago, and I pulled out, but I made it to the interview stage and I passed the interview. But I found that when I applied for recruiter, it took 1 whole month for me to get my actual interview date from when they handed in my application on the day they started taking them in. But when I applied directly the second time round, I probably heard around 2-3 days after I handed in my application. So definitely going directly, you hear back quicker. So what about applying through a recruiter?
So we're doing in terms of like direct versus recruiter now?
Yeah.
What about application timeline? Did we?
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about NOAs or anything. We didn't go through 1, 2, you just went like jumped over stuff. Just like a blurb. I don't even know where we are now.
Let's do this. Talk about your experience with recruiting. I'll edit it.
What about the NOA though?
We can do that. We can do that bit again.
Okay. So I went through a recruiter. I went through Footprints, and they were okay. In the beginning, it's okay with recruiter because they tell you at the beginning what you need to do, at what time, when's the deadline, everything. So it felt like a parent there, just telling you things like what to do. You didn't really have to concern yourself with anything. So that's what I like about being with a recruiter. But at the end of it, the recruiter does hear last about your placement. So while everyone who applied directly maybe had some problems with documentations because they didn't know the exact things like the recruiter would tell you, but at the end they would hear first because it's more direct, like it's going direct to the source.
Yeah.
But I think, in my honest opinion though, I like going through a recruiter because the beginning is the stressful part. The ending part is only stressful because you're waiting to hear from Epik. But I rather wait. I rather do the beginning first correctly and wait rather than like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to describe it.
So what would you recommend? Would you say for someone who's applying for the first time to Epik, would you say recruiter or would you say direct?
I would say recruiter, just because they make sure you have everything done correctly.
I personally would say go direct because once you get your coordinator, they pretty much do things a recruiter would do. So once you hear back, like even in your interview, they'll tell you points about things you should change in your application before you actually probably hand it in. So they do pretty much things a recruiter would do anyway. So my recommendation is go direct because.
So you handed your documents in, everything's done, now what? This is called the waiting period. You're in purgatory right now, just waiting to see if you're going to heaven or hell.
Yeah. So this is part where you're like racking your brains out, and if you've got a recruiter, you're like constantly emailing your like, what's going on?
And your recruiter will get angry, like, just wait, alright, just wait. It's gonna get there.
So like, you should hear back. It depends on the avenue you apply through. That depends on how you hear back. So you might hear back within like a month if you've been placed, or you might hear back like
1 week before you're supposed to fly out to Korea.
Yeah, which has happened and does happen to people. So you hear back about where you're going to be placed. You don't hear back about your tour or anything like that, but you usually hear back about
a month.
No, the actual city you've been placed in.
Oh,
yeah.
For me, it was 2 months. I waited 2 months till I found out by my city.
Yeah. I think mine was maybe a month. I think I had back in December. Yeah, around December.
So like 2 months.
Yeah, same as well. So
So 2 months, you're going to hear which city you got. You don't hear about what school you have, just the city where you've been placed. You don't know if you got elementary, middle school, or high school.
Just the city.
Until later on, maybe the previous teachers at your school who are leaving somehow contact you on Facebook and tell you you're at the school.
But that's very rare, because I didn't get that.
I got that.
She got that.
There was a lot of people who got it from my group.
But it was like dating people.
It was like a lot of dating people.
Yeah. So after that, you get you hear about where you've been placed. Later on, I don't know how long it takes, maybe a month.
A few weeks to a month.
You get your notice of appointment, which is basically what you need to apply for your visa to come to Korea. So in that notice of appointment, you get like a temporary version of your contract, and you have to make sure you sign every page. Don't go to the immigration. Is it immigration? The consulate?
Consulate.
Don't go there without all the papers signed. Sign all the pages, and you have to hand in what else do you hand in?
Passport picture,
right?
The application form,
right?
The money. I think it was only $8.
I'm not sure how much it was for the UK.
$8. Yeah, you need a copy of the contract, your NOA. They keep the NOA, so don't freak out if they don't give that back to you, and your passport, because they have to put the actual sticker visa on your passport. That's it.
And then you should get your visa back. For me, it took, I think it took a week or 5 working days to get my visa back. Mine came really quickly, so it didn't take too long to get my visa.
And you could give them, you also have to give them an envelope with your address on it and postage. And you can either give them an express envelope for extra or just regular envelope, and that will determine how long it'll take to get it back. But if you pick it up in person, it's even easier.
It's quicker.
Maybe like 2 days to get it back if you pick up in person.
That's what I did. I just went in, and if you don't live in London, the ones in London, in England, the Korean consulate is in London, so some people weren't able to obviously come down and apply for their visa. But luckily for me, because I live in London, I was able to go down, and then I picked it up a few days after, so that was really lucky. But everyone else had to apply by post, and they had to put in a self-addressed envelope with like all the postage costs and everything. So you have to hand that in. So yeah, that's the visa.
Yeah, and then once you get your visa, then you're able to pack and fly off. Don't worry about anything.
Right.
Epic will tell you don't get your plane ticket until you get your NOA.
Right.
But we don't, we're not recommending you do this, but
we're not recommending you do it. But
yeah, we had our plane tickets like in December. Once we found out our placement, we just bought our tickets because it was so cheap at that time.
So we flew out in February, and then we bought our tickets in December. And because like my flight was one way, and it was £500, and I flew with Emirates. So
mine was $400.
And we didn't wait last minute. Some people did, but I don't know. If you bought, then maybe just get like insurance as well.
Right, I got insurance just in case something happened. Something did happen, but I pioneered through that.
Yeah. So that's the visa and all that stuff. Oh, making friends.
Okay.
Making friends. So you want to try and make friends before you go. Epik usually has like a Facebook page or Facebook group, and that's how we actually made friends online first.
Ane was like, "Hi guys, I made a Skype chat group. Everyone can get added on this. We like chat, chat, and get to know each other. Best idea ever."
Yeah, because when orientation came around, like there was a core group of people who already knew each other. Like we
knew each other's lives. We just never met each other physically.
Exactly.
So at the airport, we're like, "Wow, I see you in person now."
Yeah, so
it's like online dating, and you finally meet the man.
Right, so we were talking maybe like 4 months. The beginning of the application process, like August. Yeah. So we were talking for all that time before we flew out to Korea. So we built up that friendship. So make sure you search for, like, it's usually like official Epik Facebook group 20, whatever year. So ours was 2013,
so 2012. Right, Epik official spring 2013.
Or fall 2000, whatever.
It will have 2 real Epik coordinators as administrators. So that's what you're looking for, because everyone's questions are answered. And
although there is
the snark master.
We called one. There's one really nice Epik coordinator and one
really snarky, sarcastic. Anyway,
Anyway, so yeah, make sure you make friends with people online first, because then you'll have that, like, you won't be so scared about flying in and trying to make friends.
It's like a group support together. And also, we flew a week earlier than orientation started, because we made such great friends with this group of people that we met up in Seoul a week before orientation.
I have a vlog on, and I will leave a link somewhere below.
Yeah. And we just hung out in Seoul for a week, just trying to get to know each other physically.
Yeah.
Not just cool. Not so sexual. I don't know. I didn't. You know what I mean? Like in person.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I think that covers pretty much everything you need to know about applying for the Epik program. If you have any questions, please leave them below, and we will try to write up anything that we missed out below and kind of put down any proper facts and prices and stuff like that. But this is just kind of a rough outline about our experience with applying for Epik. So I hope you guys find that helpful, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!